Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a new English session with Mr. Abdul Wahab Jamal. Today we are going to deal with English as First Language, Cambridge book 4.5 Going Back and Looking into the Future. We are in the science fiction genre. This is Unit 4, Lesson 5. In today's session, we are going to explore the genre of the science fiction. We are going to skim read and scan an extract for detail. We will try to make some predictions and we will have an idea or a sample writing of a science fiction writing or a science fiction story. So, an introduction of a science fiction or to a science fiction. Remember that science fiction is, if you look at the word science fiction, so we have science and we have fiction. So it is fiction based on science. It's a genre of stories that explore what the future could be like using technology, space travel, time travel, and even creatures from other worlds that we call them aliens, to live underwater, to live under the ground, to live outside of Earth. Uh, that's science fiction. These stories are not real. They imagine things that might happen in the future theoretically, but today it is impossible practically. In other places beyond Earth, anything we can have an idea about, but it is impossible to be done this time. Key characteristics to science fiction, or sci-fi if you wish to say, sci and fi. Futuristic technology or inventions like flying cars or robots. Space travel including trips to the moon, Mars, or any other planets or faraway galaxies. Time travel, where people can move forward or backward in time using time machine or teleporting technology. And sometimes aliens or other life forms from different planets can be characters or main characters in the story. I have an interesting audio, let's say, an interesting audio. It will try to give an idea about what science fiction is. So let's listen with each other. It can't be open. Okay, let's move on. I'll try to open them again. So maybe, just maybe. So 22 and 23, let's extract them outside and let's see if they work. Okay, hopefully. Let's see. It works. Let's listen with each other.
Early science fiction stories. While historians of literature argue about the origins of the science fiction genre, many people believe Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein, published in 1818, was the first truly science fiction novel. Set in Switzerland, it featured a mad scientist, Victor Frankenstein, who experimented with advanced technology to bring his hideous invention to life. Others suggest another novel by Shelley, The Last Man, as the first true science fiction novel, where she writes about a world set in the future that has been almost destroyed by a plague. Later in the 19th century, two writers had a big effect on the genre. Jules Verne wrote several extremely popular scientific adventure novels. He is often called the father of science fiction, and because he made his living out of his books, he was regarded as the world's first full-time science fiction novelist. The other writer was H.G. Wells, who popularized the idea of time travel in his book The Time Traveller, published in 1895. Since then, the genre has gone from strength to strength in both adult and children's literature alike, with ever more extreme inventions and futuristic worlds being imagined.
Very nice. That was an icebreaker. It was a listening activity, and it will introduce the science fiction genre and the key factors or the key members of them. Now, in order to start, I have just to mention a very important difference between sci-fi and fantasy, and after that, I will answer these questions. So again, science fiction is fiction which is based on science, scientific ideas that might have one day be possible, like time machine, teleporting, and even if they are not possible right now. While fantasy, on the other hand, deals with magic, magical elements or instruments, wizards, dragons, magic wand, okay, witches, wizards, and so on. So they aren't based on science fiction at all. We don't have science in fantasy. We have supernatural power which we cannot prove or explain through science. Okay, Harry Potter is fantasy. It has magic, it has a flying, it has time travel, whatever. But it has the magical or the wizard capabilities. While sci-fi is something based on science, to use a spacecraft, to use a spaceship, to travel by time, to move from planet to another planet, from galaxy to another galaxy using futuristic technology. We don't have abracadabra. We don't have any type of magic wand in science fiction. In fantasy, we do. Now let's go back to the exercise. Tell me what are the key figures in the history of science fiction. The audio track started by Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley is uh, the first person who wrote about Frankenstein in 1818. It was a book talking about science fiction experiment about a very advanced doctor who has the idea, his name was Frankenstein by the way, and he has the idea of making dead bodies, let's say, to create life inside dead bodies. So he tried to go to the morgues, and he tried to collect parts of bodies, and then he stitched them with each other. Theoretically, fiction story, remember? And then he electrified the body or the corpse with lightning, and suddenly it's alive. Now, the story itself is not science fiction, to be honest, 100%. It is talking or dealing with the human aspects of that creature, which was called later Frankenstein on behalf of its creator. So that Frankenstein creature, that corpse, it knows nothing. And bit by bit, it started to learn and it started to have conscious and dealing with people, and it was rejected in community because it was so ugly, and then how Frankenstein found himself inside the community, and he went to live alone, and then he put an idea in his mind to take revenge out of his creator because he abandoned him, and so the idea again of the novel itself, Frankenstein, it was based on science. Okay, let's say we don't have abracadabra in this one. So we can consider Mary Shelley, Frankenstein novel, okay, in 1818, the first true science fiction novel. It tells the story of a scientist who creates life using technology of lightning. Comes later Jules Verne and H.G. Wells. Okay, Jules Verne is a French writer who wrote in French, okay, and he wrote ideas or novels, very important novels to be honest, about science fiction. Jules Verne is the first one to write about living under the world, or to make journey under the ground, or to live under the water, or to make colonies there. Okay, H.J. Wells as well is the first one who made the time travel. So Jules Verne is often called the father of science fiction, if we can say that Mary Shelley is the mother, because of his book like Journey to the Center of the Earth and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. In the first book, he talked about to travel or to move or to transport under the ground. He fictionized an underworld or a world under this world which we live in. The hollow, let's say. He has the idea or the beginner of the theory of the hollow earth, if you wish to say. And then we have the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's a novel which talks about colony under the water in a very big, a huge submarine. He imagined incredible adventures and hidden worlds under sea or under the earth. Jules Verne also is the world's first full-time science fiction novelist, which means he didn't write anything but science fiction. He made a living by writing about science fiction. His books only talk about science fiction. H.J. Wells, however, was the first one, as I said, to write about time travel. He was so amazing in his book. Okay, he was very famous and popular to write about the idea of the time travel, or in inventing the time travel machine, if you wish to say. That was his book. And now, if you are to imagine something about the future, okay, what can you think of? Traveling in time machine, secret agent with impossible gadget, discovering a lost city under the sea, story set in year 2075. All of these aspects can be done in science fiction story. So you can have a flying cars. People in the past imagined the future with the flying cars, and still, by the way, robots. We have robots and advanced technology. We are to discover these things. Uh, the types of robots which we are saying, or the flying cars, still sound like science fiction today, or like only science because they are applicable. But others, other ideas, like talking to people through the screen, or for example, using robots in our daily life or whatever, they have, or we have already these things come true. So we cannot consider them like science fiction today because we can consider them like realistic fiction. Who knows after 10 years or 10, 20 years what might happen? All science fiction books which were written before, they will be like, for example, history, okay, for us. And they will become realistic fiction because we have the technology. As I told you, if you want to write examples of science fiction stories, you might have some stories ideas like a traveling in time machine, story set in year 2075 or 2050, a secret agent with impossible gadgets, discovering a lost city under the sea. What is sound like sci-fi? If you are writing about a travel or time travel, it involves time travel, common time travel into science fiction. It's very common theme in science fiction. A story set in 2075, it is in the future, and the future is a key aspect of sci-fi. Secret agent with impossible gadget to be now, but later they might be possible. It involves advanced technology. Advanced technology. That is not uh, applicable right now. Okay? I'm highlighting the words. And discovering a lost city under the sea. Under the sea. It's about an adventure, but not based on futuristic science, but it is what? Under the sea, as I told you. May I have an example of science fiction? Yes, you may. I have a very important example, a very important reading text. It is called The Diary of a Space Traveler and Other Stories. Why it is diary? If you remember in the Green Book in the beginning of this unit, it was called the Green Book, and the Green Book was a diary, and it was a science fiction story. And now it is the diary of a space traveler and other stories. The idea of being a diary, because usually traveling to space or science fiction or time traveling or space traveling doesn't include that much people. When you are traveling via or through a spacecraft or spaceship, usually you travel alone or with two or three people. With two or three people, so you are starting to write diaries of what happened to you or with you. You have lots of ideas, feeling, thoughts, loneliness, and so on. So you will start writing your diaries. Of course, it is not a diary 100% because you are writing science fiction. However, because you are dealing with first person perspective eye and you are putting all your feelings, emotions, this is why it is a diary, or all the titles or the names called diary. Okay, diary. Let's listen to the extract. Let's read this extract with each other. Okay.
Satyajit Ray. Satyajit Ray, 1921 to 1992, was an Indian filmmaker, screenwriter, music composer, graphic artist, lyricist, and author. He was born in Kolkata, known as Calcutta until 2001, into a Bengali family that was very involved in arts and literature. One of his most famous characters was Professor Shonku, a fictional scientist in a series of Bengali science fiction books published from 1965. The inventor's full name is Professor Trilokeshwar Shonku.
Okay, very nice. And that was the diary of a space traveler and the other stories. Let me see, please, if I have the audio for it. So we will listen to it with each other. Okay, maybe it will work. That one.
The Hitchhiker's